We've another question here from Camille. Camille is asking, is this just another form of innovation? So it's what we're talking about today, just another form of innovation. So I love the question, Camille. I'd probably answer it and say yes and no. Yes, it is another form of innovation. It's about transformative, radical type innovation, but also a no in that sometimes we think innovation is a nit. It's a single thing, a homogenous thing. Yet, really, in my book, what I'd be suggesting is innovation is actually a portfolio of mindsets. So the only way that our organizations will survive and thrive into the future is if we have a portfolio of mindsets, of innovation mindsets, different ways of looking at innovation. So they can scale from maybe on the surviving side, about improving what we do today, maybe extending what we do today. It's that sort of incremental type innovation, innovation at the adjacencies, etc. So in this case, we're really leveraging existing knowledge, existing skills in the organization. So that type of innovation, incremental innovation, adjacent innovation, needs to be close to the core of the organization, because that's where those existing knowledge bases, skill bases are. They have a way of looking at the organization, and we're trying to improve the organization. However, on the other side, the thriving side, the thriving really is about what are the things we need to do in the future in order to survive and thrive in the future. And in lots of cases, that's about letting behind some existing knowledge, existing skills, moving into new spaces. So in this case, this type of innovation needs to be away from the core. It needs to be away from what we call the gravitational pull of the core, which suggests things need to be done in a certain way, repeatedly, etc. Here, we're challenging that. So what we have to do with this type of innovation, more radical, transformative innovation, is getting it away from the core to the edges. Now, I think that's very, very different. And you require a very different model by which you look at innovation in this case. So we say that mindset needs to be different. Mindset is the way we see the world. The way we see the world gives us new vocab. New vocab gives us new conversations, and conversations lead change. So we need to find these spaces at the edges that we can allow new vocab, new conversations to take hold. And I'd be suggesting one of the biggest challenges in organizations, in the survival and the thriving of organizations, is the path between these two different mindsets. The mindset of thriving into the future, the mindset of surviving, doing well in the short term. In fact, I would call that the sort of the path of death. It's where lots of good ideas die because of maybe the dominant logic in the organization just rejecting them, killing them too early. So what we're talking about here when we talk about effectual innovation is about creating an effective path from this sort of transformative, radical type of innovation, whereby ideas are given time and space to grow, whereby in time they can become part of that core. Okay, so we say that goes through a number of steps or stages. First of all, we have this sort of discovery stage where we just allow these conversations to start, people having new conversations. At some stage then maybe some of the ideas that are emerging there, and generally they're emerging from more a visionary type. They're people that are challengers. They challenge the status quo. They have new visions of what the future exists. So they're a very distinctive group of people. So we're trying to get those into an environment, into a space where those conversations can happen. Then at some stage we say there's some ideas worth exploring further here. And this is where leadership comes in. Okay, so over, I suppose, the more incremental type innovation, more adjacent, that's about management. Over here, it's about leadership. Are we willing to back these new ideas, to give them a bit of oxygen to see, can they survive? Will they survive? So we need to then start moving some of those early ideas from discovery into development, where we say, let's start prototyping on a small scale to see what these things might look like. And here, really, what we're doing is bringing in maybe the evangelist, the real technologist, people that really believe in technology, and seeing, can they build out some of these ideas. Now, again, some of those will survive, some won't survive, and that's the nature of this journey. And at some stage, then we say, is there some of these ideas that we can bring more into the another step, and maybe into the so from the discovery into the development, and then from the development into the diffusion stage, where really what we're doing here is looking for maybe environments in which we can pilot some of these ideas. So when we're piloting ideas, what we're really doing is looking for the really early pragmatists, the people, maybe the pragmatist in pain is what we sometimes call them, the people that would really back these ideas in a very local space, where we can see what they would look like when they're actually implemented in practice. And again, depending on how that goes, we then start moving them towards the core. So for me, effectual innovation is about this path, being able to move ideas from edges right in towards the core, stage by stage. But at each stage, there's different types of individuals, different types of personalities, different ways of managing them. So I suppose to answer your question, Camille, is it another way of innovating? It is, but it has a very different purpose to the type of innovation that we find in most organizations, which is more incremental type innovation. As I say, it isn't, and it shouldn't be the only way we innovate. So you're in a large organization, Camille. There needs to be a portfolio of ways we innovate in all organizations. This is one really important part. It's probably the 10%, you know, where 10% of our resources should be going into this. But we need to be doing it repeatedly. We need to be growing the ideas of the future, the ideas that we allow disrupt our own organization, so that we're not disrupted by external forces, which cause maybe our organizations to die. Okay, so I think hopefully that, Camille, and if not, maybe come back, answers your question. And I see another question in here from